So in this example, we are going to work with arrays. So we are going to create a number of arrays and then we are going to populate random values in each of those arrays. And once the arrays are created, we are going to iterate over each of these arrays and try to find the minimum value within each of them. And at the end, we are going to print out the values. So let's see how we can go ahead with this example. In this array example, we are going to see how we are going to create multiple arrays with a specified capacity. And within those arrays, we have to find the minimum possible value. So we have at the start declared two constants. One is array num, which is 5. So array num is the number of arrays that we are going to create in total. And then we have the array capacity, which is the capacity of each of these arrays, the maximum number of elements that these arrays can hold. Then we start main method, and within the main method, we first declare one more array, which will contain the minimum values for each of the arrays that we are going to generate. And then we are using one single array to actually randomize the values that it will contain every time, and then find what is the minimum within that particular array and assign that value to this mean values from array. So this single random vals array will have this capacity of 10. Now we have to do this process 5 times because the number of arrays that we are trying to create or we are trying to randomize is 5. So we have a loop running for 5 times. You can see that this runs till array underscore num times. And then we call this method randomize and pass the random vals array as a reference to this method. Now what this randomize method does. So there is one more class called randomizer, and it has one single static method which accepts this reference that we passed, and we have a loop. That loop actually runs from 0 to the length of the array that we are going to pass. And what it does, it for each of the index in that array, it tries to generate a random double value. So we have math.random, which generates values from 0 to 1 and then multiply that value by 100. So in essence, we will be generating values starting from 0 to 100, and we will be assigning that value to each of the array elements up to the size of the array. So once the array has been created, it's time to find the minimum possible value from that particular array, and for that we call this get minimum value method. Now let us see how that is working. So in the get minimum value, we are just passing again by reference the random vals array, which we just populated with random values. So we assign the first array element as the min, and then we start from array index 1, that is the next index, and go to the length of the array. We make one single pass of the entire array, and for each of the element we do this check whether the current minimum is less than or greater than the current array index value. If we see that the current minimum is greater than the current array index value, then we assign that array index value as the current minimum. And by this logic, after one single pass, you will find the minimum possible element in that entire array. So once this process gets over, we will again repeat this entire operation one more time for the next array. So in total, we will be doing this operation 5 times because this has been defined at the top. Now, once we have completed all the 5 iterations of this array, we will be having 5 different minimum values in the min values from array. So it's time to print out the value. So for that, we are again using one more method called display array, and we are passing again by reference the min values from array. And what this does basically is it runs a for each loop and it prints out each of the minimum values for each of those arrays up to 4 decimal places.